He was evil. You spent this entire movie rooting for the villain, not the girl crawling across the ceiling, screaming, the sweet, shy guy you felt sorry for, the one who just wanted the girl to finally love him back. He's the monster, and the film quietly confesses it in the first 10 minutes. Because the love story you think you're watching, it never existed. She was never his. So the moment he gets his hands on a one-wish willow, a cheap little charm you snap in half to make one wish come true, and wishes for her, he isn't saving a romance. He's deleting a person. Here's the idea the whole movie is built on, the one critics couldn't stop talking about. To make someone love you more than anyone alive, you can't win them. You have to erase them. Every opinion, every boundary, every part of them that could ever tell you no, gone. What's left isn't a girlfriend. It's a hollow thing that worships you. And the guy you were cheering for chooses that, on purpose, again and again. So forget everything the trailer sold you. This was never a story about a man who loved a woman too much. It's about a man who couldn't stand that she didn't. And what his wish does to her next is where it stops being fun to watch. Love deleted Nikki. Her name is Nikki. He is Bear, the shy coworker, who's quietly loved her since childhood, but was always too scared to say it. The second his wish lands, Nikki stops being Nikki. And the film is merciless about the cost. She can't be away from him for a single moment. She watches him sleep. She tapes his door shut so he can't leave. She feeds him his own dead cat. She starts cutting herself whenever the reel her claws back to the surface. It looks like an unhinged horror comedy until the floor drops out. Because the real Nikki isn't gone. She's still in there, awake, trapped, screaming. When her true self breaks through in her sleep, she turns to Bear and begs him to kill her, to make it stop. And then comes the detail that confirms it. Bear calls a customer service line printed on the charm's box, praying he can undo the wish. A bored operator tells him only one thing breaks it, his own death. Then the operator asks if he'd like to listen. And what Bear hears is Nikki, screaming, from somewhere that isn't her body. He hangs up. He knows exactly what he's done to her now, and he keeps her anyway, which means the one person who could have ended her nightmare wasn't the only one who chose not to. Billion-dollar betrayal. Bear had a best friend. His name is Ian, the one person he trusted with everything. And Ian is the reason this whole nightmare catches fire. It starts with something that sounds harmless. When Bear finally works up the courage to open up to Nikki, Ian tells him to tease her a little, to call her Freaky Nikki. Cute, right? Except Ian knows that's the exact name bullies used to torture Nikki as a kid. The one word she hates more than anything on earth. He's not helping his friend. He's sabotaging him, on purpose, with a smile. And when it truly counts, Ian shows you who he really is. Bear, desperate, begs him to use his own one-wish willow to turn Nikki back, to save her from the hell Bear put her in. Ian could fix all of it with a single wish. Instead, he wishes for $1 billion. And $1 billion pours out of the ceiling in front of him, while Nikki is still trapped inside her own body. The one man on Earth who could have set her free looked at her suffering, looked at a pile of cash, and picked the cash. But Ian's betrayal runs deeper than greed, because there's a reason he needed Bear to fail with Nikki in the first place. And it's the real love story this entire movie was hiding. Real love hidden. Here's what the movie never says out loud, but shows you again and again. Nikki was never in love with Bear. The proof was sitting in plain sight the whole time. Take the word he clings to, babe. Bear hears it and thinks she's finally warming up to him, but she calls everyone babe. She calls the bartender babe. It's just how she talks. Then there's the moment fans love to rewind. Nikki sweetly hands $20 to a homeless man, and Bear stares at her like she's an angel, never clocking that she lifted that exact 20 off their friend Sarah seconds earlier. Even her dreams pointed away from him. She talks about quitting her job to go write a love story of her own, a future with no room for Bear in it. And the person that the future was pointing toward was Ian. The film keeps implying that those two shared a history long before any of this. Buried in lines like Ian's jab about Bear's 7-year late proposal, the sense that Nikki's heart was already spoken for. That's the real gut punch. The romance and obsession was unfolding the entire time, just off to the side, while a lonely man cast himself as the lead in a story he wasn't in. He didn't lose the love of his life. She was never his to lose. Which makes what happens to her almost impossible to sit through. Survival was punishment. So how does a story like this end? Everyone walks out relieved because Nikki lives. She's the final girl, the one who survives the horror movie. But her survival is the single cruelest thing in it. When Bear finally dies, the wish breaks, and the real Nikki wakes up, not free. She jolts awake in a spreading pool of blood, surrounded by the bodies of everyone she loved. Sarah, her face beaten in. Ian, shot through the head. $1 billion in cash sitting in his house. Bear, dead beside her. Her fingerprints are on the gun. She remembers none of it, because she was never in control of any of it. This is a woman whose only crime was being kind to a coworker, and she's about to be arrested for slaughtering her entire friend group. And this isn't a fan theory. Director Curry Barker confirmed it flat out. She almost certainly inadvertently goes to prison for years, tangled in a fortune she can't explain, next to bodies she never chose to make. She's not going to have a good life. The credits roll on a girl who did nothing wrong, waking into a nightmare that's only just beginning. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. Barker already filmed what happens to her after this. Real quick, if this breakdown is hitting, subscribing genuinely helps me keep making them. That's it. Let's finish this. Her nightmare continues. Most people assume Nikki's story ends when the screen cuts to black. It doesn't. Director Curry Barker revealed that his very next film, Anything But Ghosts, is set in this exact same world, and somewhere inside it, a news report plays. A news report about Nikki. That one detail seals the fate of the ending only hinted at. She gets caught. She gets charged. She goes down for it. Framed by a curse she never asked for. Chained to a dead man's fortune she can't explain away. There's no version of this where she walks free. And now Barker has confirmed we'll actually watch the world move on without her, branding her the monster, while the real monster is already dead and gone. Sit with how bleak that is. The person who destroyed her got the mercy of dying. She gets to keep living in a cell, as the villain of a story she was the victim of. Her suffering doesn't stop with the movie. It leaks into the next one, playing quietly on a TV in the background of someone else's life. And yet, as brutal as all of that is, there was almost a version of this film that treated her even worse. They shot it, then they buried it. The buried ending. They filmed a darker ending, and it never made the cut. Actress Inde Navarrete confirmed it. In the original version, Nikki wakes into that bloodbath. The weight of it crushes her, and she chooses to end her own life. That was the first instinct. Barker has said his earliest idea leaned even further. A full Romeo and Juliet tragedy. Two people annihilated by a love that was never allowed to be real. And then, at the last second, they changed it. They let her live, not to be kind, because they decided she deserved to be a final girl. And a final girl doesn't get the easy way out. She has to survive and carry the grief. That one choice reveals what this movie was always secretly about. It was never Bear's love story. It's Nikki's tragedy. He isn't the heartbroken hero who lost the girl. He's the catastrophe that happened to her. By keeping her alive, the film refuses to let you mourn him. It traps you inside her pain instead. It takes the sympathy that horror almost always hands the lonely, obsessed man, and gives it for once to the woman he destroyed. That's the entire point. And it sets up one last twist, the one aimed directly at you. You misread everything. Here's the final twist, and it isn't on the screen. It's pointed at the audience. Obsession runs on the oldest horror engine there is. Be careful what you wish for. The same monkey's paw curse behind that famous Simpsons Halloween episode, where every wish rots into a punishment. But Barker did something sharper with it. He said the charm was never evil. The wish was never cursed. The only cursed thing in the entire film was what Bear wanted, to seize another human being's free will and bend it around himself. Every horror that follows grows out of that single desire, wearing the mask of devotion. That's why it cuts so deep, because this is a story about a very specific kind of person. The one who believes love is something they're owed for being nice enough, patient enough, close enough, and who never once stops to ask whether the other person gets a say. A movie made for around $750,000 went on to earn hundreds of millions. And it didn't do that on jump scares. It did it by holding a mirror up to a fantasy a lot of people quietly carry, and naming it out loud. So the next time a story tells you someone loved another person too much, ask the harder question. Did they love them, or did they just refuse to let them go?